Hello and welcome to BYJU'S Exam Prep IAS. The big news for today is that the entire country is celebrating the Vijay Diwas. On this day, 1971, the India-Pakistan War for Bangladesh liberation came to an end with Pakistan officially surrendering to the Indian Armed Forces. We'll be discussing this in detail, the details of the war, what role did India play in the liberation of Bangladesh, and also the significance of that war in the Indian subcontinent. But before we do that, reminding you about the ongoing IAS 2023 Prelims test series from BYJU'S Exam Prep IAS. Make sure that you give all these tests on Sundays to ensure that your preparation is right on track, and you can also get your All India rank along with your strengths and your weaknesses. This Sunday's test live at 9:30 a.m. will be on economics. Make sure that you don't miss out on this test as well. Now let's begin. As I told you, 1971, 16th December, was a momentous day because this was a day that the India-Pakistan war for Bangladesh liberation officially ended. Now, this war has a lot of significance. As you know, India and Pakistan have fought various wars. However, the interesting part is if you look at Pakistan's version of the wars, if you look at Pakistan's history books, they usually argue that they won most of the wars. So they teach their students that the 1965 war was won by Pakistan. They teach the students in Pakistan that the Kargil war was also won by them. The reason why they can take such a stand is that there was no decisive end to those wars. There was no treaty as such signed, or there was no surrender that took place. 1971 war, on the other hand, was one of the very few wars in the entire world after the Second World War where an official surrender was actually signed. So there can be no questions about the result of this war, and that is why it is extremely significant. That is why 16th of December every single year is celebrated as Vijay Diwas in India and as Independence Day in Bangladesh. Now, the history of Bangladesh in itself is very interesting. As you know, when India's partition took place, there were two parts of Pakistan that were created: East Pakistan and West Pakistan. East Pakistan is the country that you today know as Bangladesh. Now, although Bangladesh was a part of Pakistan country, but there was a very different kind of a treatment given to East Pakistan as compared to the West Pakistan. Both these had one single government. However, the language in the two sides of Pakistan was different. East Pakistan had Bengali Muslims and Hindus, so their language mainly was Bengali. They were not given the same kind of political, social, or economic treatment as was given to the people living in West Pakistan. In fact, they were not even given the right to be represented in the parliament in equal proportion. In 1971, when Sheikh Mujibur Rahman actually won the election for becoming the prime minister, he was denied the position of the prime minister. That was the last nail in the coffin. It was not a very long war. It started on 3rd of December 1971 and it ended within 13 days. It ended with the surrender of 93 Pakistani soldiers who surrendered to the Indian Army and to the Mukti Bahini, that was a force that was working from the side of Bangladesh. Mukti Bahini was an armed organization that was trained by the Indian Army itself. It was a guerrilla resistance movement. It did not have professional soldiers, but it was trained by the Indian Army itself. Now, if you look at the background of the war, you will understand how and why the war actually came into picture. As I told you, between East and West Pakistan, the East Pakistan was not given the equal rights that they deserved. The Bengali population in East Pakistan was not given any political say, and West Pakistan dominated every single thing politically. In fact, in the 1970 election, we had the Awami League, that is the party of East Pakistan, getting a huge victory. Sheikh Mujibur Rahman was supposed to be the clear prime minister, but he was not allowed to become the prime minister because West Pakistan leaders thought it is not possible for any East Pakistani to rule over our country. This is what became the big point of contention between the two. Then there were also cultural differences between the two sides. The West Pakistan at that time was under the leadership of Yahya Khan. He now resorted to violence. He now wanted to oppress people in East Pakistan who were demanding freedom on the basis of their language or cultural differences. This is what led to the beginning of a very brutal operation from the Pakistan army called Operation Searchlight. It was an operation under which thousands and lakhs of people were killed by the Pakistani army in East Pakistan. This operation began on 26th of March 1971 as a result of which millions and millions of Bangladeshis at that time who were East Pakistanis had to run to India to save their lives. This is why India at that time had a huge burden of refugees. Lakhs and crores of people came flooding into India, especially in West Bengal, Assam, Meghalaya, and Tripura. West Bengal especially was burdened. Now, at that point of time, India itself was not a very rich country. So, India did not have a lot of food, a lot of resources for our own population. But even then, we never denied entry to any of these people who were coming from East Pakistan. This was a time that Indira Gandhi and other people in the government started asking for help from Western nations. Help in two ways. Number one, either they convince Pakistan to stop their Operation Searchlight so that people in East Pakistan don't have to flee to India, or otherwise, they help India to take care of these refugees. But the sad part is, the Western nations did not help India in any of these two ways. And that is why we were left with no other option but to approach the Soviet Union and sign the Treaty of Friendship. India Bangla cooperation came into being with the Mukti Bahini, that is, a force of the local East Pakistani people formed by the Indian military, and all the training was given by the Indian military about how to fight guerrilla warfare and how to defend their own country. 16th December 1971 was a momentous day in the history of India, Pakistan, and Bangladesh, where Lieutenant General Amir Abdullah Khan Niazi, who was the chief martial law administrator of East Pakistan at that time, surrendered, signing the agreement in presence of the entire world media. Over 93,000 Pakistani troops surrendered and they were kept as prisoners of war for some time before they were released by the Indian army. Now, this war actually has a lot of significance and is seen around the world in various ways. First, it was necessary for India to fight the war because we could not really have a threat on two fronts. See, when two Pakistans were formed, East and West Pakistan, and we knew that Pakistan will always be a country that will try to harm the Indian interest, the government of India knew that somewhere down the line, we will always have a war on two fronts, East and West. So we had to negate that threat, and that is why it was very important for us to actually win this war. Second, in East Pakistan, there were multiple political parties. Out of all of them, the one political party that was actually friendly to India was the Awami League. Sheikh Mujibur Rahman belonged to the Awami League. Even today, Awami League is a political party that is in power. It is his daughter, that is Sheikh Hasina, who is the present Prime Minister of Bangladesh. So, in order to make sure that Awami League remains the most popular party, in order to make sure that their win in the election is actually given to them, India had this responsibility to interfere. We also had to negate an internal security threat. See, the borders on the side of East Pakistan, that is Bangladesh, are not as stringent as they are on the side of Pakistan. And they were even less stringent back in the day in the 1960s. Thus, there was always an internal security threat of Pakistan misusing this border, sending people into India from that side, and then organizing a coup against the government. So we had to negate that as well. Then we also had to negate the communal threat. As you know, Pakistan has always been trying to give a push to these kind of news that India has never been supportive of its minorities. So we had to present this proposition that no, we are actually capable of taking care of all religious identities in the country and we are willing to help East Pakistan, although the government has always had attack that they don't help the Muslim majority citizens. Then it was also seen by many of the world nations as India's first and the only step against non alignment. As you know, before the beginning of the 1971 war, India signed a treaty of friendship with the Soviet Union. That was criticized by many Western nations, including the USA, saying that India used to say that we are non aligned. And now look at India, they are signing this treaty with USSR. How are they non aligned now? Now, this blame cannot be put on India for the simple reason that we tried to reach every single Western nation possible. We tried to have multiple meetings with America to help us out, to pressurize Pakistan to stop the Operation Searchlight, but they did not do that. And in the end, we had no other option but to approach the only country who could counter US because US at that time was in full support of Pakistan. In fact, during the 1971 war, US did try to interfere by sending its warship in Bay of Bengal. The only reason why they were not able to interfere was because USSR came for our help from the other side. So you might see this as a departure from non-alignment, but the reality is it was India's national interest that forced India to do this, and we were much more in favor of actually taking help first from the Western nations as compared to USSR. But it was the Western nation that have to take the blame. This is it for today's big news. I really hope that you celebrate today's Vijay Diwas as an amazing victory that not many armed forces around the world can claim. This is a momentous day. Do read more about this and do read the valor of the Indian armed forces. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good day ahead.